Well, back in 2008, the then national government brought in new employment law where they made it legal for businesses to hire an employee for a 90-day trial, giving us all sorts of information about how this would, help grow the jobs of certain groups within people, lower socioeconomic people, underemployed people, because what they were saying was the business would now not be scared to hire this person, because if they were terrible, they'd easily be able to get rid of them after 90 days. That's the legislation that came out, Dom. Mm-hmm. And I have to be honest, when it first happened, I wasn't a huge opponent of it. And one of the reasons I wasn't a huge opponent of it, and this may resonate with you, was every job I've ever had in radio, part of my contract was a 90-day trial.
Yeah, it was hardly a huge shock or surprise at the time. And it was called the 90-day bill. It became a thing, didn't it? And there was all sorts of speculation about evil employers and what they would do, and that they'd get someone in and then they'd just dismiss them and they didn't have to give a reason, just didn't work out. Well, in reality, sometimes people just don't work out. You hire the wrong person. And so, like you, I don't think I was too upset when it actually came in. But, of course, we've had something released now that's basically said, well, look, it hasn't actually achieved what it set out to do.
Yeah, to their credit, the Treasury actually asked for some analysis of how effective or not the 90-day trial has been. So what did I say, 2008, so that's 8 years later, when the best part of a decade we're looking at it. And Dr. Isabella Sin, who is an economist at the Motu Research Group, was asked on RNZ recently about the research that she did. She was asked what the findings were specifically around how it was making a difference to certain sectors of society. This is what she said.
So in terms of overall hiring, we couldn't find any effect. So we can't say zero effect, but there's no economically significant effect on the number of hires that a firm made. Then we looked at, in terms of the individual people who they did hire, were they more likely to be disadvantaged job seekers of various types? So we looked at people who'd been on a benefit recently, people who'd particularly received an unemployment benefit, recent migrants to the country, people who'd been out of work for a year or more, young people under 25, Maori and Pacifica under 25, and people who'd left education in the previous year. And for none of these groups did we find that a person hired was more likely to be one of these types of people.
So it's really clear that what she's saying is when the government brought this in, certain sectors of society, specifically those that were finding it difficult to get job, the unemployed, the underemployed, lower socioeconomic groups, their employment would be much easier because of this. And the research that they've done says it hasn't made a jot of difference.
No, it hasn't made a jot of difference, which is the interesting part to me was that the actual sort of aim of the 90-day bill when it was first introduced? Because, to be honest, I didn't really hear a lot of that argument when it was being debated initially. And it's interesting because Minister Woodhouse, who's the man in charge of fronting this one now, he wasn't when it came in, but he's got the portfolio now. He's basically said this isn't worth the paper it's written on, this report. And the fact that, he is also questioning, it was the first thing I thought of, hold on a minute, since when was that the aim of the 90-day bill? Maybe it was going to be an offshoot, but that certainly wasn't something that was made abundantly clear at the time.
Yeah, I don't know if that's fair or not. I remember working in Talkback at the time, and certainly those people who were most concerned about it were that group of people. So people who are struggling to find work, thinking they were being taken advantage of. Now, so whether I guess it was implicit or explicit, then I think that it was a part of the conversation. But this is the other thing that not many people seem to be talking about at the moment, and it hasn't made a jot of difference, which means it hasn't made it worse.
No, this is the thing. And Ian Lees-Galloway, the Labour spokesperson on this issue, said exactly the same thing. He says it's been negligible either way. So what does that tell you? So we've got this study. That's fine. And good on Treasury for actually saying, well, look, government put this in. Let's have a look and see what it's done. Almost, as you say, a decade down the track. But in saying that, negligible either way. A lot of hot air, I think, Pat.